There was a feature that you could put on in Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey for the N64.
Yeah.
You could put them into bobblehead mode. And because the graphics card was so limited on the N64 that everything was like kind of smushed. Like everyone remembers like the NPCs in GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, sure.
That if it wasn't like Odd Job or Jaws,
Yes.
then they just had like the weirdest looking faces.
Yep.
That's what Aiden O'Connell's face looks like in his helmet.
In
It
real
looks like
life.
it's smushed in.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the Week 14 DraftKings picks for the main slate. As always, we're going to be using Run the Sims to go through everything. And if you are listening to the audio version, you might want to tune into the video version because you can see the lineups on the screens and the shells that we're using as we build them. We're going to go game by game, build out some shells that we like, and then go back and fill them in at the very end. Tambo in studio with me for the first time in ages.
Feels like it. We're back, and we don't know. Do people want to see these lineups or not? We'll have to wait and
They
see.
did.
but-
I got comments because Davis filled in for you the week that you were gone. And we just had a complication with some of our equipment.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to share the lineups on the screen at the same time. That was the number one thing I got back. I was like, hey, I like seeing the lineups when you build them. I was like, so do I. There's only some. Either you don't get the show
Yeah.
without it, or you're going to have to live with it. So-
I get all the tags when that happens and I'm not on it, and it's all like, no one's keeping Pat in line. He's getting off the hinges now. These lineups look like this, and just makes fun of our back and forth that we have if I get on your case about defenses early or anything like that. But yeah, it's good to be back, man. Happy to be in studio, and it's crazy. Week 14, we're moving through it.
How's DFS Mastermind going?
Solid, really good. Good start. Appreciate all the support. Obviously, overwhelmed with it. Everybody came out. It's meant to be like a micro community, so the main thing is it's growing pretty fast, and if you want to learn DFS in a different way, it's just another way to do it. It's review, application, a little bit of education that goes into it, but it's been a lot of fun. I think the people are liking it. The feedback's been solid.
I see you already have custom merch made up.
Bought it, but it's it says Mastermind. It's custom gear.
Should be like, I think it was called Masterminds is the movie I'm thinking of.
Masterclass is what people talk about too, because you can go on and see like how Gordon Ramsay cooks on Masterclass. Save 50% for the Black Friday sale.
Did you have it? Oh, yeah. It was called Masterminds. It had Patrick Stewart in it. It's from 1997. I recall seeing it in theaters when I was 11 years old.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but the idea here is that just, it's a group of people. It's from Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. You get people together, and it's a group of people that want to sort of go into the weeds and learn things a little bit differently. That's the way to do it.
All right. And shipitnation.com code Mayo will get you a discount right now. Almost hit the big winner on Thursday Night Football for Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog, by the way, will get you a free pick. 4 or 5 picks correct. So the 3-banger wins. Goff slightly too good. Cost me $4,000.
Ugh, the worst.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it's
I mean, when you're playing on Underdog, you're going to go 4 or 5 sometimes. You're like, man, I should always do the flex play. Then you're like, I don't want to do the flex play.
Yeah, go for it all.
Yeah, you go for the big winnings, and you can do that because you get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 as well at Underdog. But we're talking DraftKings right now. Let's jump to the optimal right away just to start there before we get into the games. Will Levis is the quarterback of the optimal lineup this week with Alvin Kamara as what projection systems love Alvin Kamara, by the way.
Yes. Well, they love him a lot more, especially when there's no Taysom Hill.
Yeah, but should you like him more if there's no Taysom Hill? Because it feels like he performs worse when there's no Taysom Hill.
That's going to be an interesting topic when we talk about it. But you and I had this conversation. I know it's been a minute, but when we were talking about that before, we talked about how it's seemingly Taysom Hill that sort of pushes this offense more and makes it actually run smoothly. And now without him, it's like the defense can just collapse in on this, and he'll pick up a ton of catches and stuff and little things that will add up. But will you get your ceiling output is the real question.
Garendo at 5,400 obviously makes it. How owned do you think Garendo is going to be this week?
It's tough to say because he's not like a 4K flat guy.
Yeah,
There
but
is different.
54 for a running back's pretty cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I guess obviously I know it's going to be high, but I'm saying, is he one of the guys that pushes like 50%, or is it going to be the guy that just sort of gets held in, quote unquote, held in check at like 30 to 35, and you're like, that's kind of low. We'll have to wait and see, but right now he sort of pops off the page at 5,400.
And right now we're showing Camaro with higher ownership than Garendo. I do not believe that for a second.
Right, and the only thing is that it just depends on how you're spending your money. What you'll find out when you get to it, when we get to it, going through it, is that because the cheap quarterbacks, the cheap receivers, it also, you have the money no matter what, for Kamara or even Barkley when we get to that conversation, but it's also the $5,400 price tag is sort of middling, so you can put him in whatever.
I would like to be on the record right now that I will try to find the extra $1,000 to play Barkley over Kamara.
I like that. I do like that.
Or even A-Chain. I think it's a nice spot for A-Chain as well.
He should go overlooked a little bit this week as 8,200.
Hope so.
Yeah, possible.
Hope so, as will the Eagles receivers.
Yes. Well, anything to do with that, because like I said, I think the way it sets up is there's a lot of quarterbacks in that lower price range or mid price range.
The wide receivers are Shakir, because it's Shakir every week, Jennings, and Puka Nacua. I am shocked Keyshawn Butte didn't end up making. He had a 2-point conversion. Best game of all time.
Yeah.
How much money have people lost playing this loser every week?
I don't know, but he's always just a product of there's no value on the slate, so people just somehow slot him in as like, he's the value guy. Last week, actually, though, it was David Moore. David Moore took his place. And
didn't even really work out. At least he did better than Booty usually does.
Yeah, he got 9, and especially in like higher stakes or smaller fields, you were okay with it. But yeah, obviously wanted the Thielen play instead last week for $1,300 more.
Bowers is the tight end at 65. The flex is Juwan Johnson, so double tight end at $3,400. And Saints D. The simulations love the Saints this week. I happen to not like the Saints this week. So let's start with that game, since everyone seems to like it so much. I don't want to like really any part of it. Maybe Tyrone Tracy, because the Saints' run D is terrible. But other than that, like Derek Carr struggles when there's no Taysom Hill around. Kamara's points per game is way lower when Taysom Hill isn't around. You don't have Taysom Hill. And just because Taysom Hill is out doesn't necessarily mean Juwan Johnson's going to do anything.
Right.
Like, if he doesn't catch a touchdown, let's say even if he catches a touchdown, like realistically, I know like ceiling in outputs are a bit different. Be like, oh yeah, well, if he ends up with 8 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, he's going to break the slate. It's like, okay. In the 99.9th percentile, he will break the slate. What's like a run-of-the-mill, above-average, great game for Juwan Johnson? Like 4 for 70 and a touchdown?
Yeah, seems like what you'd see. He is 3,400, so I get that take from people. Obviously, he's capable. But I will say, it's not a week to mess around at tight end. I mean, we're going game by game first and looking at shells and whatnot, but there is, Otten, Bowers, Njoku, Hawkinson. Like there's some big dogs there. Trey McBride, like lots of guys that can find their way to 25 points here if they have the good game.
Question about Cade Otton, because he didn't really do anything last week against Carolina. He had a few bad drops. That was in there. But do you think that the return of Mike Evans pushed him back in this offense? Because when Evans was out, he was eating. The moment Evans gets back, he does nothing. Now, it could be a one-game thing.
Yeah.
It could be a game plan thing. Or they're just like, hey, we have one great receiver. Let's throw to him.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of all of it, but I will say, like, the guy is still one of the biggest dudes out there. When you get down to the red zone and teams are doubling up on Evans or whatever, that's already a challenge, and he could still beat your double team, which is why people love him. But the nice thing about Otten this week is more from a game theory perspective, is just flipping the build, right? Like, everyone's on the Bowers play for sure, for good reason. Like, I'm seeing, like, Sims and certain optos and stuff pushing him up to maximum numbers, even locking him in some case and putting him to 100%. You can obviously play 2 tight ends, so there's a possibility when we build that shell later, what would it look like with Otten and Bowers in there? But I think it's fine, and I think I'm still going to be interested at 4,400 regardless, and it doesn't look like he's getting the same ownership when you have Juwan Johnson, TJ Hawkinson, and Njoku, Bowers all there with him.
Have you heard anything about Kincaid yet?
I just saw it this morning. Actually, it sounds like he did practice. He's upgraded now, so he's going to be.
He's going to play then.
I assume he's going to play based on the upgrade.
Because I was looking for other potential options instead of Juwan Johnson as a cheap tight end, if that's the way that you wanted to go. Knox was the one that really stood out to me right away.
This week, why I said it, and I know we're just stuck here for a second, but like a couple other things, like Kittle is basically Garindo Price at a 1Z position at tight end.
And Jennings is basically the same price too
at
at
wide receiver, right? But that's all I'm saying is there is plenty of options at tight end, back to your original point, and on this game of Juwan Johnson, where it's kind of like you got to be building in a different way to land there. I will say I like a secondary stack here of Tracy and Juwan Johnson, because that's just it's the opposite side running back of Kamara. I kind of lean your way of thinking about it, and I already love, like, even he made the tidbits today, Tracy, like everything. There's a lot of good stuff around him in this matchup and things that look pretty good. Opposite side of Kamara, who's going to be super popular, and most won't play them together. And if you do want to just burn your tight end spot on that, you could still play Bowers in the flex, much like the optimal is set up right now. You know what I'm saying? So
Tracy is $5,800. So if you kind of look around his level, Najee's $200 more, Chubb is $100 more, ETN, you're not playing ETN or Warren. Garendo is the guy who sticks out there pretty clearly. I mean, for what, $400 more?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Garendo's good. He could eat in this game. I think I would rather stack up the San Francisco receivers than just play Garendo.
I think that's going to be a shell we build later that's going to look pretty good, and just as a way, because you know you're leveraging it in some way. That's always the thing, too. Like last week was the Chase Brown week, kind of the similar situation here. Like, you know he's the good play, you know he's going to be owned, but if you're not playing him, what are you doing? And for example, last week it was like, could you play him differently? Yeah, you could play Russell Wilson, Pickens, and Freiermuth. You could play Freiermuth at a onesie position to really slice into that ownership and have a secondary stack with Chase Brown him. Or if you're fading him, you could try Pittsburgh Dion, and not all of them worked, I'm saying. But if you're not playing Garindo, what are you doing? Because it's going to be something. They're still in good shape, I think, at these prices to play one of these guys with it.
He's very much worth the price point. However, if we're thinking about downside for him, not just performance downside, that he has 20 carries for 68 yards, no catches, and no touchdowns, like great. Thanks for my 7 points. But is there a playing time downside to him?
It's tough to say. I mean, it's going to be Patrick Taylor off the practice squad. I know they picked up the, I was talking to you pre-show about it, the old Jet, shout out to Cust, but it was the Anaconda or whatever his name is. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but he's the guy that they picked up and should get activated just so they have a third warm body sitting there and just ready to go. So he's 4K. I think Taylor's 4K. I have to look it up, but these two will be in behind him. I think it's, I'm not messing around with that too much as it is, like you said, you've got Jennings at some ownership, but not as much. You've got Debo. I think he's 5,900 this week or something. Like he's right there as well.
But he hasn't been good since having pneumonia, which is fair to him.
Yeah. You know me on that stuff. Like, sure.
I mean, that's a legitimate medical problem.
I believe it.
And he hasn't been good since. I feel like there's a 1v1
the doctors
correlation.
are clearing him to get out on that field. I'm playing him. Like that's the thing. So I'm okay with it. I think that's my main takeaway is when you're moving off Garindo and you have reasoning behind it, which you do, and you're not doing it everywhere. You're just saying, if I was, what would that look like? I love going with that passing attack and just getting different that way. And I think it's noted that all the prices are very similar at different positions.
One last thing about New Orleans is the Giants give up a lot of big plays. And I've been playing MVS basically since the breakout week. Guy's been pretty good, and he's always cheap.
Yeah, I credited you a couple times last week about it, just talking about it, because you brought it up after week 1. And I tend to agree. I remember agreeing with you saying, look, he doesn't need to do what he did last week.
No,
he
he's
can do this.
$4,600.
Right, and you were talking about the Shaheed role. And so I guess the thing is, like, everyone's bucketing Nick Westbrook-Akine, we'll get there, with Will Levis being the optimal quarterback, and they're bucketing in MVS, and it's like I don't actually have them the same. One guy gets to run the same play every game that nobody respects him, and he just ends up wide open and catches the 20-yard touchdown. The other guy has sort of brought on that Shaheed role. You know it's a boom-bust play, but he's seemingly getting it all the time, and it's not about, like, touchdowns on how many shots they give him. It's just more of, I feel like he actually had a valid reasoning for the role, which you brought up week 1 after Shaheed went down.
So let's go with Marcus Valdez-Scantling and Tracy. Those are really the only 2 guys from this game I care to play.
Yeah,
Like, I have no interest in anyone else.
I will say the Johnson one, just for different roster constructions. The reason I liked him is because I always talk about this, but you have to fill out that position. Like,
Sure,
it's a
I think
one-off,
we can do better.
Yeah, the thing is, though, I also will say it's a 2 tight end week, so you can do it. You can still no one. It's not like what people say, like, how are you playing Johnson when you just said there's all these great tight ends. Simple. I'm playing 2 tight ends. That's exactly what it is.
Additionally, I like the Giants D at $2,600. I know that the optimal showed Saints D. I'd rather play Giants D.
Would you play the Giants D at 2,600, or would you play the Jacksonville against Levis at 2,600? I like Jacksonville more.
Jacksonville doesn't pressure the quarterback. I mean, fake Josh Allen does. Josh Hines Allen does, but that's it. And I know that Levis might just give you the ball. And it's probably a good week to play Jags D if Levis is going to be one of the 3 highest owned quarterbacks. I understand that.
And people are playing Pollard, and people are playing Ridley, and people are stacking up Levis. So I'm just saying, if you landed there, it's kind of what I was talking about, just like the free square example, I'd be fine. But I don't hate your Giants call there as something to be different as well. But yeah, I like both those at 2,600, but I like Jacksonville more.
So, I mean, we touched a lot on the San Francisco game in that discussion, but let's briefly move to that one because this one is far more fun, I think. If we try to go, do you want to do the Purdy side or do you want to do the Caleb Williams side? Because there's a lot of discussion about the running backs right now that obviously no Roshan this week. DeAndre Swift has yet to practice. Now, we're filming this on a Friday morning. He might practice today. Everything might be good.
Right.
But if he's not, it's going to be an awful lot of Travis Homer at $4,000. What does that do? What does that do to the slate, do you think? If all of a sudden we get to Friday afternoon, DeAndre Swift is ruled out, all of a sudden we have potentially a starting running back. We think that Travis Homer's like the only guy on the team at this point. He's $4,000. Do people just play Garendo and Homer, or are you just giving up too much equity at running back?
It's possible that they play both, but I think what it actually does is probably keeps Garendo in check.
And probably more people play Barkley because
you get the combo pack now of Homer Barkley, right? It's like just an easy way to do it at that point. So yeah, I think that would, which again, people will play Garendo too, and you're allowed to play multiples and up to 3 and all that. But I'm saying I think it's more likely that it keeps Garendo better than what we talked about earlier, like 30 instead of 40 to 50, for example, or something like that.
Would you jam Homer, or is he just like,
I'd wait and see what happens, but I think what he does for your lineups is great. $4,000. I'd much rather have him. Like it's 4K. Whatever happens, happens. That's you're getting a starting running back with nobody else really behind it. I'm more than good with it at that price, and he can catch passes, whatever you want him to do. He's 4K.
So let's try to do this. Let's go. Do you want to do Caleb Williams or Purdy?
I'd do the Purdy side. I'd be looking to leverage what you talked about, and I think
But you could do the Caleb Williams side. Cole Kmet super cheap. Then you get out of that because you can still play another tight end. You can play Kittle and Cole Kmet if you wanted to.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to go. I just think when you go the Purdy side, it's for me. If you're doing it for leverage. Well, you can play him with Garendo as well.
Purdy, Jennings, Kittle.
Or Debo.
Not playing Debo.
You're not. I'm saying, but to me, I'm looking for the condensed offense. That's a condensed offense. Yeah, I'm putting Purdy with 2 guys, and for me, I'm leveraging Garendo. Makes it even easier. So there's only 3 guys to pick 2 from, and for me, it's Jennings, Debo, Kittle. For you, the shell we're building is Jennings, Kittle. I'm good with that.
Okay, and then on the Bears side, do you have any sort of lean?
Well, we got to see because that could also pop up. There's besides just this running back stuff
Keenan
we're talking
Allen
about.
and DJ Moore both injured right now.
Allen, I think, is good. I think he was upgraded and solid. It's DJ Moore we're waiting on, and then that would be Rome Odunze is another guy you could plug in there. And so you have run backs, or you just play Keenan Allen. Say especially if DJ Moore's out, then you should lean on him even more, right? Is what you would think.
Let's make it a placeholder. We'll put Keenan Allen in at $5,600.
Good with that.
So in this shell, we have $5,400 remaining right away. Is there any other piece of the Bears side? Like, do you like Kmet?
If I was stacking Caleb Williams, which I'm as of now I'm not, but if I was, it'd be a way to go different with your Garendo stuff. You go him with whoever the Bears receive. If DJ Moore is out. And if Swift is out, then I definitely have a lot more interest in Caleb Williams because now it gets even more condensed and there's like way less chance. And if everyone's playing Homer, then it's what do we want to do? Then we want the Caleb Williams side.
What do you think that Homer would get up to ownership-wise? 20?
20.
But he's not going to be like a 48, 50% running back.
We'll see. It really always depends on the rest of the slate.
And
right?
the tournament, too.
You know what I mean? If everyone's going with Barkley, the big thing this week is the decision almost comes down to it is quarterback. Because that sets everything up. Like if you go Darnold, yes, Justin Jefferson is slightly expensive, but he's actually at his lowest price I've seen him forever. I think he's $7,800 or something, so he's not even $8K right now. Levis, Ridley, whoever you're putting in with no expensive options. Kyler Murray is only $6K. He's less than Sam Darnold right now. So whatever quarterbacks you're looking at, there's almost nobody to spend on. And I don't even think people love the Jalen Hurts spot because they just want to play Barkley. So they would use their money there instead. So that's why I'm saying the Homer decision really depends on what the stacks are doing, and the stacks aren't expensive this week.
Of note, at quarterback in the first run of simulations that were done by Run the Sims, Levis, Darnold, and Kyler Murray, and then Geno all have the lowest optimal leverage on the slate, ownership versus how they actually appear. Now, Levis appears in a lot, just his ownership is getting up there. He is the most optimal quarterback, but it's only 9%. It's Levis, Russ, Darnold, Murray, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, and your boy, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell, man, $4,800 this week.
Do you think people will get there?
100%. We'll see. He won't be 100%, I'm saying, but 100% people will get there. When they're playing Bowers and they're playing Myers, and these guys are getting like 55% of the target share for that team, and it's going up against Tampa Bay, who's been great lately. Look at even Bryce Young shows up against them all of a sudden. Your boy, Bryce Young, showed up against them. So, that's easy as well, right? You can play double tight end with K. Dot, and you can put in Mike Evans. I think we're still waiting. What's the Bucky situation right now? He was limited yesterday or something?
Yeah, he has like a hip stinger or something like that. I think that he's going to be fine. If not, just play Rashad White.
Yeah. And funny enough, too, yesterday was, by the way, my boy, Aiden O'Connell, was out sick with a illness, and then Myers was out with an ankle injury yesterday. So we'll have to see, but I don't think they're going to miss. I'm just saying that was just interesting late in the week to see those two pop up on the injury report.
Let's go to Jets and Miami, because I think that the Tua side of this game is super interesting.
For sure.
In games, and this is more of an underdog thing than a DraftKings thing, because A-Chain can get there in many different ways, but if you are looking at games where Miami wins, A-Chain under receiving on basically everything. Targets, receptions, yardage in games that the Dolphins lose A-chain way over on receptions. So when they fall behind, they have one play, dump it off to Devin A-chain. And then he gets priced that way because he has these explosion games in the receiving game when they lose that it doesn't really come back to earth. So I really like him on his unders this week through the receiving game. Doesn't mean he doesn't run all over the Jets.
That's the hope, and he's $200 more than Kamara at looking like 1/3 of the ownership. So for a guy that's had all these 25-point games, that's pretty solid at 8,200, and I think it's a good play on DraftKings.
Do you prefer the Tua side or do you prefer the Rodgers side?
Oh, Tua for sure.
You don't want to have the Aaron Rodgers ayahuasca Netflix doc boost?
I saw that. Are you going to watch that?
Of course. Might you have? It's 3 parts.
Yeah, God, oh man.
Like I assumed it was like an hour and a half, and that was going to be it. Like if I have to invest like 4.5 hours to watch Aaron Rodgers walk around and be an absolute goober, I'm not going to enjoy that.
Yeah, you're going to have to though, because it's good content, and especially with Cust, and you're going to have a review show on that one.
We might do a live watch along.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, is it going to be you with a muscle shirt on the treadmill as you watch
it'll
it?
just be Cust and I. We'll pull up a seat next to each other on the couch and watch some Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I'd love that. The live commentary from Cust would just be all gold. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be on that side, though, here. And the Tua side, the reason it gets interesting is because we're still waiting on a Tyreek spot.
We're waiting on the Tyreek spot. But what if we just say, you know what? The Tyreek spot doesn't actually happen.
Doesn't exist.
So you just Tua with Jonnu and Waddle.
Yeah, for sure. Jonnu, for sure. I was just going to say, I don't know if you saw this. I can't remember if it made the tidbits or not this week, but I had one on it. And he's been like their number one.
Yeah.
For the whole, I think it did make the tidbits,
or maybe just
actually.
do Tua and Jonnu. Don't even worry about why.
Shut
Don't
it
try
down.
to pick between Waddle and Hill and hope it's someone. Just hope it's Tua and Jonnu and like a Malik Washington end around that the other guys don't get there, that you don't need the other guys to get there along with it.
Yeah, and I can definitely see this week, just a note, because we're going to build out later, but just to say, like, I could see this week where it is like a whoever got that right, like the Tua Jonnu thing, and then it's the combo pack stuff coming back, meaning it's like I don't know if it ends up being like a Garendo and Jennings, but no Purdy, and then somebody on the other side of that, like a Keenan Allen, just racks up the PPR points. So you got 3 pieces from that game, no quarterback, because someone found it and had it with Jonnu and Tua, and he gets 2 touchdowns and Tua runs one in or something, or who knows, and that's how it sets up. So it'd be something like that I'd be looking to build out, and I like the just Jonnu call.
Not one player in this game projects over 10% right now.
Yeah. Do you like Adams on the other side? Or
I don't know.
Man, he's like, it's funny. It's the 2 guys in this game, so this could also be how you set it up if you do want to get Tyreek in there. But been waiting for the big Adams game with Rodgers, been waiting for the Tyreek game to finally happen, and they're both in this game together. Maybe they pop off at the same time.
Brees Hill.
Tyreek Hill,
Just
Brees' brother.
combine them together. Brees Hall has yet to practice this week. Mm-hmm. This happened last week. He didn't really do anything last week. He was clearly a bit banged up, so that might be a reason to not use him. And I think he's at a very interesting price level at 7,000. Just very few people are going to running back at that price level, that he has basically zero ownership. Let's say something happened to Brees Hall. Then all of a sudden you're dealing with Braylon Allen as the running back that you need to go to. That's a bit more intriguing, I think.
I don't know if the stretch is needed, though. Like, we just talked through it with these other guys, and, no matter, even if you hate both of them, like, there's still so many guys that you can go with.
Sure, but if Hall is out and Braylon Allen's at 5,000, I think just, like, in my mind power rankings, like, I would say that he's pretty close to Grendo in my mind.
Yeah, that's how you'd use him. So I would think about that when you're building your lineups. Like, if you're popping out Grendo, I would pop him in and then have one of your Jennings or your Kittle plays popped in on the other side to make up for wherever those points are coming from in San Francisco.
I mean, we could just also believe that San Francisco kind of sucks and like we don't use any of them.
It's possible. I don't personally believe that. I think it's just one of those things. They still find ways to score points and get there. And they're missing some big pieces, but it's mainly at running back, and that's kind of the setup.
So is there a jet you would want to run back here? It sounds like you want to use Adams.
I want to use Adams. I'd actually be very comfortable with like a Tua, Tyreek, Jonnu, Adams. And I think you got the running back value to make it happen. Like, that's just, again, we don't need to put Tyreek in ours.
Let's put Tyreek into it.
What does it give us for for
49.20?
So quite a bit less than the previous version we looked at. I think that'll be a decision this week, but it's another way to prove of like how you can get a little bit different is to roll like that. And we definitely have cheap Ds. We've got backup tight ends that are less than that we can, not backup, sorry, a second tight end that is less than that if we want to go in the flex. And then we've got running backs for sure in that 5K, 6K range. So yeah, that can work, no problem.
Vegas and Tampa Bay is up next. The Aiden O'Connell side is the popular side of this because I'm guessing it's so cheap.
Yeah, it's
condensed.
very condensed is the main thing.
So O'Connell, Myers, Bowers.
Yeah, and people can just run back Evans, or they can run back Bucky, or if it's Bucky's out, it's even more likely they run it back with your boy, just I mentioned, Rashad White. And also, that's another thing to note.
How about this?
How much is Rashad White this week?
He's 5,200, I believe. Let's see. Rashad White is 5,300.
$100 less than Garendo.
But obviously, a lot of the ownership would shift to him if Bucky was declared out.
Could, or they'd play both, yeah. But I just mean that's a definite good pivot if that was to happen. I mean, regardless if it's coming with ownership, it's still a good spot to get to.
So let's just throw Evans in there. Although Evans' volume has not been good all year. He gets there, but it's like on efficiency, big plays, and touchdowns. He's not like, if you're thinking like this game stack, because I always wonder about this. Maybe you cover this on DFS Mastermind, but if I need Aiden O'Connell, like I'm playing this in a tournament, I need the sort of ceiling outcome for O'Connell, Myers, and Bowers. I don't know if Bowers and Myers can both get there together. Now, you might get enough from one of them and the other one goes off that it makes it worth the while to try to get that correlation. But I don't know if Evans goes off enough to push these guys. Like maybe it would have to be Bucky Irving because Evans kind of just does what he does every week regardless.
Yeah, the main thing
you're not getting the 13, 175, and 3 from Mike Evans. You're gonna get the 5 for hopefully 100 and hopefully 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's the difference. Is it just depends on how you sort of see the game playing out. So you almost have to treat it like, even though it's a main slate, you're treating this topic and why this show is the way we do it kind of interesting is you're treating it almost like Showdown, where you're playing out the game and how it would play out in your mind to make it work. The first part was with Myers and Bowers getting there together. It's more of a price factor, 5,600 with 6,500. You're comboing them up at about 12K, give or take. They can put up 40, 45 points easily between them. Like you can get a 20, it's what you said, 20, 25 or a 30, 20 or something like that. That's plenty. And then they're attached to a 47 or $4,800 quarterback, I believe. Yeah. So that would help the quarterback out in most cases as well. On the other side, it's just more of, do you think Bucky does it on the ground first, which causes the reaction to bring it back? Or do you think it's like maybe Evans works either way? And that's what I tend to lean into.
I agree that Evans works either way. I just always worry about his upside in these situations. Like if you need him to press and get there, can he do enough? Now, 8 for 118 and a touchdown last week against Carolina. So it's been by far his best game.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It's the first time he cracked 100 yards all year.
I don't mind it because, Baker, especially even late in games when down and whatever, he's still willing to chuck it out there. So it's like, that's why I kind of like the setup of what if they get there first with Evans. That could really help if Aiden O'Connell can push it the other way. And then if somehow Vegas gets up early with those guys, then it's, got to be Evans coming back the other way, you'd think, or Otten. But I think Evans.
So how about this? Because we both kind of agree that Bowers is like the player, right?
Yes, I think everybody does, yes.
Baker, Evans, Otten, Bowers.
Yeah, that's flipping it. So how much does that one leave?
5,100.
So even more than the 201, and I like that one better.
Yeah. I like that side better because it doesn't have Aiden O'Connell, who's kind of crap. But he also looks like there was a feature that you could put on in Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey for the N64.
Yeah.
You could put them into bobblehead mode. And because the graphics card was so limited on the N64 that everything was like kind of smushed. Like everyone remembers like the NPCs in GoldenEye.
Sure.
That if it wasn't like Odd Job or Jaws,
yes,
then they just had like the weirdest looking faces.
Yep.
That's what Aiden O'Connell's face looks like in his helmet. It
real
looks like
life.
it's smushed in.
I'm not gonna be able to unsee that when I go look at him next, but I did not put that one together, but I know exactly what you're talking about from the N64 and especially the GoldenEye days. So
I like this better. And look, if Bucky's full blast, then maybe Bucky gets me here.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, because you have it right beside you, if you flip it to Bauer, go the other side. Like I just want to see what the $5,100 left versus if you go O'Connell, Myers, Bowers, and then Evans. What was that one leaving?
Let's see. O'Connell, Evans, Bowers with Myers.
Yeah, the 3-1 the other way.
5,100, 5,180.
So about the same.
Gives you $80 more per player.
But you pick up you lose a flex spot to the double tight end in the previous version, but it's obviously a different way to play it and similar money versus the way others are playing it, and then they're filling it in probably with more chalk just because they're going to be more likely to go with those running backs and everything that way.
Do we have a status update on Madison and Zamir White?
Still waiting on that one. I had at least what I saw from last night.
Because I have a feeling, just from, ball knower, Pat, who watches the games, relies very rarely on analytics, but hard runs from Sincere McCormick.
You have some sincere takes?
I do. You can't use him because you have no idea. He might just be backing up Amir Abdul. He could be buried third on the depth chart. But I do have a feeling we're going to see him down the stretch because they're done, right?
Yeah.
They need to kind of audition some guys for next year that I could see him playing his way into a 20-touch role over the next 4 weeks.
The Week 14 waiver wire show with Pat and
Yeah,
Tambo. That's
but
it's
just
kind of like a season-long thing,
But
right?
he would be a guy that I would want to be ahead on. Honestly,
yeah, I'm fine with that. That's the thing is like again, and it could even be this week.
And he's
your point,
he's $4,600. Like if you were pressed, now I'd rather play MVS at the same price if it came down to a flex spot.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to save money and just trying to let's say all you want to be like, hey, this is the only game where points are scored this week. Because I know that some people build those sorts of onslaught lineups. Like you probably throw Bucky with Evans into this. You're like, hell, well, there's another cheap piece. Throw in McCormick. Maybe he'll get something on the ground. This game goes 45-40.
The points all count the same, but I will say, if this was like an afternoon slate or an afternoon game, and you had like a 3 or 4 game slate, that'd be an awesome play. It still is fine. Like I get it. Like especially if you're overstacking this game or you want to just get different in a spot. It would be great leverage to Myers and Bowers.
You don't need to be nice to me on this show. You can say that's a bad idea, Pat. Don't worry about it.
No, I know that. I'm good at this point, but I would say for sure that that's the tricky with it. But I think people just need to know that it can still get. Last week was McNichols. Everyone wanted to come on the show and say during the YouTube chat on Sunday, "Oh, got to be McNichols this week," and blah blah blah. It's like, well, yes, there's no Eckler and Brian Robinson is popular, and you can play Jaden Daniels, but you're just going so far down the list, it's like, I get the case. It's just hard to make it happen.
I would pay attention to coach speak, and I would actually have real interest if White and Madison are both declared out again. That I think that he's actually if you play the Baker side of it, he's a nice throw-in with Bowers instead of Myers. And that way you don't feel like you need Aiden O'Connell, too, because you might be able to get some stuff on the ground.
It's definitely good for that, and the leverage side of it just as a whole is like he's almost the same price as he's $4,600, which is cheap, but he's similar to Myers at $5,400. And instead of using a chalk wide receiver that everybody's on that mid range, you're able to now get a different receiver in there and just use him as a running back at $4,600.
So I do like the Tampa side of this better.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep our shell at Baker, Evans, Bowers, Otten.
I like it.
Or do you think it's better to do Otten in the Bowers spot and play Myers instead?
I like the double tight end version of it just because you're kind of flipping it twice in a way. I know other people are going to play double tight end, and especially in that game, but I still think it would be more with O'Connell, Myers, Bowers, Otten, and then some will add in the fifth piece with either Bucky or Evans, right? And just call it like they did last week. I don't know. That's the other thing too. It's not chasey, but it is kind of because of what happened last week, and then people are just assuming it's going to be the same result. But it's I kind of like them more as like separate pieces. Like just using them as secondary stacks or little things like that. And then Baker's side is the more interesting one.
Carolina and Philly, some injury notes about this game. Jalen Coker should return this week for Carolina, and Jatavion Sanders should return this week for Carolina. And some notes about the backfield. Hubbard continues to dominate the backfield versus Jonathan Brooks, but to look at the receiving totals last week, Hubbard, big zeros.
Yeah, not good.
So that's if he is being taken out of that role, he is unplayable.
Tough week to get him in anyway. Tough week for any of those guys.
Yeah, but
to get him in,
if you're trying to find pieces on the Carolina side, I don't think that there are any.
Do people want Thielen at 5,300 now, or was that just last week?
I feel like that's just last week. I feel like that's going up against a defense that, listen, Tampa's D is not that great. Philly's D, very good.
Yeah, you know who crushes this week? David Moore at 4,000, because when he didn't do much at 35, you know he's going to crush at 4K in the perfect game flow. They're going to be down. It's
just, I think that Coker comes back and starts in his spot.
It's possible.
He just might not be on the field would be the problem. Sanders, actually, I would have some, I wouldn't say love for, but if there was anyone to play from the Carolina side, like he was looking good. He had clearly established a connection with Bryce Young. When they were both sitting because they were garbage early on in the season.
Yeah.
And working with the second team. But he had a neck injury. It was serious enough that he missed last week, had to be carted out 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now, that if he is back and running full, because I know that Tommy Tremble will probably pop up because he's so cheap. Like if you're looking for the cheap tight end, Sanders was, he's $3,300. Like if you're going to play the Philly side, like I'm talking about only as a part of a stack here with Hurts and A.J. Brown. Hurts, A.J. Brown, Barkley? Would you have any money left?
My biggest interest when I'm not playing Barkley is actually just to play naked Hurts.
Okay.
And I get it, like the AJ Brown would be the leverage and to do it that way too.
Yeah,
and
or
they gotta
Hurts
get
rushes-
that. But I think Hurts
Hurt-
could just rush in 3 TDs
Yeah,
here.
if Hurts steals the touchdowns, then Barkley is useless.
And I think a lot of people, when they do leverage it, go automatic to like their level that they go to as well. If it's not going to be Barkley, it's going to be Brown. I got to do this. And that's going to suck because that's a lot of your money spent at wide receiver if it's not what ends up happening. I don't want to play Devonta Smith at 5,800 coming back.
What about
But
Goddard at 45?
That's the other thing I was going to mention. The other level to it would be it's right there at the same price as Kate Otten, basically. And that's another way to do it. And when I don't mind playing. I like the Hurts naked thing that I just talked about, just playing him and hope that he runs them in. But I don't mind pairing him up with a cheaper tight end like that too, because it may or may not break you, and you can still play him in the Otten spot. So back to your previous build almost that you had, obviously not sticking with Baker at quarterback, but the one where you were deciding on do you use this tight end or double tight end. Now you don't. You play Myers and or something like Bowers and Evans or Bowers and Bucky or whatever it ends up looking like, and you can still have Goddard in there as opposed to Otten.
All right, well, let's keep that at Hurts and Goddard right now and just call that a day from this game.
Yeah, definitely not trying to figure out the Carolina side too
No,
often.
I don't think there's enough upside there to really care about it. It's kind of like this game, Tennessee and Jacksonville. Introducing to you the TGL presented by SoFi Golf's newest league live on ESPN and ESPN+. This is a simulator plus real chipping, real grass, and real green league featuring some of the PGA Tour's biggest players like Tiger and Rory and Xander. Only 2-hour matches inside of a stadium and has other sporting elements like timeouts, refs, and overtime. You tee off from real grass into a screen. You might end up in the rough, or sand, real sand, and have to play it back into the screen out of there after that. They use the technology to drop it by a real green side area plus a real putting surface, getting everyone involved in the contest. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. To learn more, visit tglgolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up. It's golf. Why not Mac Jones then? Like, Levis isn't good. So
Yeah, I think it's like
neither is Mac Jones.
Isn't it only $100? Oh, same price even.
Yeah, so
Hilarious.
save yourself 20 times as much ownership. Play Mac Jones instead. Just be like, oh yeah, it's Brian Thomas and that's it.
Parker Washington.
Maybe yeah. You know what? Parker Washington, sure.
I actually like that as a way to use Pollard or Ridley.
And then you can get
you could
then-
secondary stack them, or you could play them in that stack.
Then you can get Pollard in there. Mac Jones, Pollard, Brian Thomas, Parker Washington. When you know, and that leaves you $5,700 per player. And if you were to build it out the other way, like the common Levis stack, would be Levis with, I'm guessing, is it tripled or is it just one of Ridley or one of Nick Westbrook-Ikena?
I think it's just one.
And it's probably Ridley, right?
Yeah.
It has to be.
It's people are going to do the Ridley Westbrook Akine. That's fine. Again, it's not even like the thing. It's if you've been playing Westbrook Akine, I don't know if anyone has, but if you have been, roll it. But if you haven't been, I'm definitely not jumping in now. And I don't care what you say. Like, it just doesn't matter to me. One thing I will say that I love though is Brian Thomas is $100 more than Ridley. So I really liked your call there on the Mac Jones side. And I'm not sure if you saw this last week. It's a watch the games, which you do, but I'm saying others out there may not follow it. He threw Mac Jones threw Brian Thomas like a 63-yard bomb. It went over his head.
I remember.
And I was like, damn, like everyone wanted that. We needed, can we just get that? He literally goes back to him the next play, little shorter this time, not quite the touchdown, but it was like a 56-yard catch. And you're like, wow, Mac Jones is just slinging it. He don't care. Like, just do that. And we want that in a quarterback in these tournaments. So I kind of like that setup that you talked about. And you don't even have to go to Washington or Ingram if you don't want to. But it is to me, still pretty condensed with what they're going to be doing on the Jacksonville side.
Yeah, you could go Levis, Ridley, Thomas.
Levis, Ridley, Thomas is definitely a way to do the other side.
Yeah.
If you want to play Ridley. I'm saying I kind of like Levis. I like the other side of what you talked about with Mac Jones, Brian Thomas Jr., and Pollard. And if you want to go a step further and add in a Parker Washington, I'm actually fine with it.
He saves even more money. Like, this is the perfect lineup to play Barkley in.
Of course. You can play whoever you want at that point, but it's also not
you
like you're
throw
playing
in
the same
Barkley and you still have $4,800 per player.
You're getting cheap D, you get Garendo in there still.
Well, you
if
don't
want.
even have to put in Garendo. You can play Jennings instead of Garendo to fill up your wide receiver spot. You
can do that too,
And then
yeah.
you pay down for Giants D or whatever it is. Then you have a tight end and a flex to fuck around with at like mid-50s.
Imagine if we were building it soon.
We
might even get to see what that looks like. So,
Arizona, Seattle?
yeah. Kind of an interesting game, I guess, because I actually thought at the start of the week it would get a little more love, but it feels like nobody cares anymore.
Well, it's slightly more expensive than like it's that weird in between point game. It's like the sandwich priced game.
Yeah.
Everyone is like slightly too much for what you want because if you pay down to get your Garendos or your Jennings or Juwan Johnson, you're like, well, I have enough money to get up to Kamara and A-Chain. Like you just don't care about these guys.
Yeah,
That-
it's the opposite of a Goldilocks game.
It's the Geno indoors, Geno, JSN, McBride.
Right. But to me, that's what I said. The Goldilocks game is like just right. You know, the porridge, not too hot, not too cold, just right. This one's the opposite of that, yet it's so condensed, what you talked about. You kind of feel it, like you know exactly where you're going. I'm going Kyler, Harrison, McBride, and picking a run back, or I'm going Geno, DK, JSN, picking a run back. That's perfect setup for me, and nobody's touching it. At least it looks like it. Do you see any ownership here?
No.
Yeah.
Geno, what, like 7%?
Yeah, which is nothing. And for Geno especially. Usually when Geno's getting something at 5,700 or whatever, he's 58 this week, but when he's 5,700, he's usually 11 or 12. You're seeing like, 6 or 7 this week. So
I'm seeing Connor at 12%, DK at 11, JSN at 10, McBride at 10, Kyler at 10, Marvin Harrison at 7. But a lot of the ownership right now, I think, is still being projected out by the projections themselves.
a lot of it too is the total base. People are just looking, going, this is a 44.5 total. So was Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Like sometimes these games just pop off.
So sometimes it's wrong by a lot.
Yeah, and they have that in the first half. And this is in Arizona, by the way, too. It's in a dome. Like this is going to be a potential spot where you have condensed offenses. It switches the builds up.
Don't have to worry about the weather. You know it's a fast track.
I mean, to me, we'll see if it gets there late, but I have a lot of interest in this spot right now, and I like both sides. I like what I said. I like Geno, DK, JSN, McBride.
What Kenneth Walker keeps underperforming.
Yeah,
one of these weeks he's going to get there.
How much is he right now?
He's probably way too much because Connor's only 67.
68.
68, sorry.
No. I'm talking about Walker. You said you were talking about Connor. Connor's 67.
So Walker's finally
68.
down.
Yeah.
You know, per DVOA, who has the worst rush defense in the league?
Arizona?
The Saints.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to set me up for this
No,
one.
Tracy. I actually just went to go look for it. Let's see here. Arizona has the 11th ranked run defense. Seattle has the 13th ranked run defense.
Just that's reflected in ownership, baked into price.
Yeah, no.
So you're right. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm saying like, if you were picking a shell on this side, to me, it's Kyler, Harrison, McBride with one run back.
I like Geno
or the other side.
JSN, McBride. Just keep it thin. Hopefully it gets there. If you wanted to add Connors with McBride, I'm good with that too.
And you like JSN the most?
He's cheaper, I think. No, he's not cheaper. He's now more expensive.
Yeah,
Interesting.
people figured him out.
It really seems like since DK got hurt, JSN's become their guy.
He's been good, definitely, and more than just the 1 or 2 weeks when people are like, oh, when DK was out, it was all that. No,
I fell into that trap. I thought exactly the same thing. And
yeah, I think it was easy to. It's just that's what you were finding out when you go dig in further. So I guess what I would say is that I think this is a good game. I think both sides of the shell can work because I know everyone was tilting this last week, but he got 7 targets in the first half and finished with 12 for Marvin Harrison Jr. He had like a pretty bad game on those targets and still got almost 20 fantasy points. I don't know if it was because of the coach speak or whatever that people are talking about because you saw the passing offense will go through him today. 12 targets, it did. I know everyone was bitching about it. Like, it literally went through him. 12 targets is a lot of targets.
They also gained like 450 yards of offense against one of the best defenses in the league. They just could not score a touchdown.
So now that's what I'm saying here. Now you bring them back here at home against Seattle, who they could find it on. And Kyler's popping up, but not as much as you would think. I guess it's besides price, the condensed offense of Kyler, Harrison, and McBride. McBride's already been getting, 10 targets a game, it feels like. So if you're putting those together, what's really the big difference besides a little bit in price of Aiden O'Connell, Myers, and Bowers? And by the way, you're allowed to still play Myers or Bowers in this lineup. You just have to make a decision at quarterback. But Kyler, more money. Harrison Jr., more money. Bowers and him are pretty similar. I think you can find the money here and get to this.
So Kyler, JSN, Harrison, McBride.
Love it.
All right, that's the shell that we'll keep.
I actually do like that shell the best of all of them.
Okay. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I don't actually have a ton of interest in this game. It just feels like a game that everyone, after watching both these offenses last week, that everyone's going to jump on. It's going to be like 13-6.
I thought that, but then it feels like nobody's jumping on.
Fair.
So, which is what at the start of the week, James and I, Degenerate 75, we did the first look show. We're like, oh man, everyone's gonna pounce on this after seeing Cleveland have this nut game ceiling, and then the Pittsburgh game too against Cincinnati. So you'd think that, but yet everyone sort of leaned off of it now, and there's just other spots they want to go to.
All right. Well, I do have a build for this game.
Which is
It's Russell.
Russell. What are we doing with him?
With Pickens.
Good idea.
Kelvin Austin probably going to be out for this game. There was coach speak about getting Mike Williams more involved, but I don't think I need to go any crazier than that. And probably Elijah Moore to bring it back. Now that for weeks I was playing Judy. Now everyone's on Judy. Need to switch over to Elijah Moore.
What about Njoku? Man, he's good. He's finally getting a chance to show what he is.
Every time that he doesn't play with Deshaun Watson, he's really good.
That's what I'm saying. It's all it is Winston, but I'm just saying he's such a good dude. Like he's so big. He's good for the ends. Like everything they do with him, he seems like he doesn't matter if they want to double team him. Sure, like he's going to be open. He's going to be good.
If you're playing against Cleveland, I just want guys who create big plays. Like Calvin Austin would have been perfect for this game.
Yeah,
just some speedster run wind sprints down the field. He'll catch 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, what did we just see? Mims?
It was Mims who got it.
Yeah,
and Judy just kept breaking big plays.
I have no idea what they were doing. I knew, again, going in, I know it's not a side note, but I knew Surtain wasn't going to, take over Judy. It's not what he does.
He didn't play a snap against him.
Right, but I knew that it was, even if he did, I didn't expect it to be like what some people were talking about. Like, people were talking about, he knows his moves from practice. He's going to tie him up. I was like, it's not even where he goes.
It's not even that. It's just if you look at whoever he tries to lock down in the game, it's not, it's partially a product of how good he is at locking you down. Quarterbacks just don't look.
They just don't throw that way.
Yeah, so if you line him up on someone, they just don't get targets.
But where's the rest of the defense? Because Judy was literally wide open. It could be 20 yards down the field on 1st and 10. It's not like they were giving him the room because it was 1st and 20 or whatever. They were giving him whatever he wanted. He was just taking it. So what does that mean for this game if you are going here? You talked about Pickens, and
Njoku.
And then I guess, that'd be kind of the setup here. So, all right.
And that gives you 5,400 remaining. I just don't have a lot of love for this game versus some of the other ones.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. And I guess it's kind of, to me, it's not like you have to pick between the two, but it's interesting is this is also another one sitting around that 44 number on the game total, which again, game totals aren't everything. It's just to point it out, is the Arizona-Seattle one at 44. I'm leaning that one still in Arizona in the afternoon in the Dome versus this game, division battle, AFC North. They can pop off like we just saw with the Cincinnati game, but and Pittsburgh, but maybe here this one slows it down a little bit.
What if I told you that there's one game we haven't talked about yet? It is the highest projected point total on the slate, and no player from that game is over double digits in ownership showing right now.
There's another game we didn't talk about yet that I think is interesting too, but this Buffalo LA.
Oh no, I guess we didn't talk about Atlanta, Minnesota. I don't have a ton of love for that game either.
I might. We'll see. But
is it all Minnesota D?
No.
Cousins might lead those guys. He might just hand it to them.
It's on their offense, but that's good too. But LA Buffalo is certainly not getting talked about at all, and people wanted this before, right? They want Shakir, they wanted to play Kupp or Nakua or both, and all these other factors. But
so you said Kincaid may be back. Do we have a ruling yet on Coleman?
No,
probably not for him, right?
That's what it looks like. Again, this was both this morning that it came up, and it was Coleman still limited, or Coleman still questionable, and Kincaid upgraded. Sorry.
So you could just play James Cook. That could work, and hopefully Ray Davis doesn't steal all of his touchdowns. I think the Bills go crazy in this game. I mean, I made them my gold pick of the week on the betting show. I think they kill the Rams, or at least it's a highly competitive game. I like Kyron with one of the pass catchers. The problem is it's too expensive.
I don't know about Kyron, man.
You can run on the Bills.
You can.
You can most definitely run on the Bills.
They're using everybody though. Corum was getting in there last week too. Kyron's a touchdown scorer. He's going to be the best anytime touchdown odds on the week. But you need more than a touchdown to score your fantasy points. And there's so many running backs that I've got ahead. I'm still high on Nakua. I love your Bills side. And what would this leave, just out of curiosity, not to change the conversation, but just curiosity because you were mentioning it. If you went Allen, Shakir, Kincaid.
Do we need to ever play Shakir?
Probably not.
I question this. Has he ever won anyone a cent in fantasy?
I think so. People like this guy for a reason.
He projects out well because his catch rate is so high and he generates a ton of targets. But
it's annoying because it feels like his ceiling is 20, but you pay $6K for it still.
Yeah,
which is fine because it's slightly more than 3x.
And you're right. His ceiling is 20. He has been over 20 points once this year.
So how much?
In the past 4 games, 7, 15, 11, 11. And he's been one of the highest owned receivers on every one of these slates.
It's just annoying because here's the thing. He fits an Allen stack. So when people are like, I don't know how the hell people played this guy or even wanted to get to him when you could have played Myers, Ridley, Brian Thomas Jr., etc. But it's like the only way. If he does have the big game, it helps Allen, it hits him, and it avoids some of those other guys, or you could use those other guys in the other slots. I'm just saying that's how you get to Shakir in this spot. And I think Shakir was popping up in the optimal, right?
Shakir pops up. Shakir's like Keyshawn Butte. He appears in the optimal every week.
He just had a lot more money, almost 6K.
Well, it's because his projection should show him being like a $7,000 receiver for the amount of targets that he receives, for his catch rate, and listen, they don't ever project that dude doesn't score touchdowns. They're
That's
like
crazy too. So last week, I don't know, did he get injured at all last week?
Who?
Shakir, was he out of the game?
No.
He played 29 of the 58 snaps.
Yeah, it was the snow game.
But he still got 7 targets. So
Yeah, but they played those jumbo sets, and like he's the guy that they don't throw the ball downfield.
Yeah, snow game too. I forgot about that. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. But
So here's what I like from this game, because I do like Kyron Williams, because I think if the Rams are gonna have success at all, it's gonna be on the ground to set up Puka. I'm with you on Puka. I love playing Puka.
Yeah.
And Kyron Williams is one of the lower prices we've seen him in a while. And again, he falls in that range where no one is playing running backs. $7,300. And if anyone's going to score the rushing touchdown, it's him.
he's definitely he's a great bet for a touchdown, but he's like minus 240 to score.
No, I agree with you, but it's not like you say, like, yes, they are using a bit more of core. Maybe you'll see a Ronnie Rivers, but it's not like the guy's not touching the ball.
For sure. Yeah, I'm just
15,
saying.
16, 15, 15, 22 carries the last 5 games.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. But again, same last game. His snaps are way down too. Played like 20 less snaps. So what I was going to say is, how much is Kincaid?
Kincaid is
4,900.
Well, no one's going to use him.
And Nakua, I'm just trying to see.
Nakua's 77. Because I think you can play Josh Allen by himself. I think if there's the way to play Josh Allen, it's like Jalen Hurts. That he's going to throw his touchdowns to fucking Mac Hollins and that Morris dude.
It's possible.
And
but
he rushes in too.
I would really like the same thing. This is almost identical to the Hurts situation, because what I said, I want to play him naked or I want to play him with Goddard and use up my onesie position at a fair price around where some of the chalk is at tight end, and you got to play one anyway. I really like Allen, Kincaid, Nakua.
I like throwing Kyron in there too.
And you like Kyron. So that solves it.
That leaves us with 4,400, and it's obviously not my favorite of these builds that we've put together. Problem is, I don't think anyone's just playing this. The pieces are too expensive. That if you can get what's Josh Allen going to be, 3% owned on a fast track? Let him take off against a team that gets to the passer but can't actually tackle?
Yeah. The Kyron one is definitely going to be overlooked.
2% right now.
Yeah,
Josh Allen.
Okay, Josh Allen. I thought Kyron's going to be low too.
Let's see what we got.
3 to 5 probably.
Kyron 5%.
Yeah, I just looked.
James Cook 3%. Maybe James Cook is actually just the play in this game.
James Cook is interesting in this game because of that. But it's also like you have Bijan, Achane, Barkley above, Kamara, obviously the chalk, but you don't like him, so I'm just not naming him for that reason. But below you have the Kenneth Walker, Connor, Bucky Irving, Pollard, Najee, Tracy. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys here, man, that Kyron has to come through on. But obviously the spot to use them and that makes the most sense is in this game stack or putting him in some sort of mini stack within this game. So I really
don't like him as a one-off, but I like him as like, if I'm saying this game shoots out, which the total would tell you it is going to shoot out, that he's going to get his points along the way somewhere.
Could just be a Bills smash and then Nakua on the way back.
It could be.
They just throw to him.
Yeah, I mean, they could do both.
Robinson touchdown like always.
Yeah.
He's just as bad. He's the Nick Westbrook Akina. He's the one that always seems to just be open in the end zone. You're like, why this guy? Give me. I have everyone but him. Come on. I don't hate the spot. And obviously, it's interesting that no one's going to it with this total for sure.
Atlanta and Minnesota is the last game. You had some thoughts on the Minnesota offense?
Yeah, I mean, we have to get the Justin Jefferson game. It has to happen.
I don't know if it has to happen.
It has to happen it has to happen even more than Tyreek Hill, and it has to happen even more than Devontae Adams. It just has to happen.
I mean, I think Jefferson's second in the league in receiving yards.
It's fine, and I'm talking about the 30-point DraftKings scoring game. That's what's happening, and you're not going to be allowed to price this guy at 7,800 and get away with it.
All right.
So
Darnold, Jefferson.
It's crazy. All the 21, 21, 26, 21, 23, 24. Like, where is the 30 points at, man? It's just.
And it's funny because a lot of those games when he scored the 20 whatever fantasy or DraftKings points, he had like 18.2 in the first half, and they were like, "Oh, we're winning by a bunch. We don't need to 30
That's what
anymore.
it's been. That
Keep
was the
yourself
issue.
healthy, man."
Yeah, that's what it. The only guy that can get, that I think anyway can get 100 yards in the first quarter is Justin Jefferson, and it's happened. So it's like
Jerry Judy.
Judy, for sure. Other guys can. I just mean feels that way. And at 7,800 is disrespectful. So I'm leaning into it. I know some people are as well. Like people are playing Darnold a little bit, but I think there's tons of ways to move it around. Like it doesn't feel like, once you go to him, you can get Hawkinson in there. Are people playing Bijan or London or Mooney or whatever you want on the other side? Like there's definite guys you can use there.
What do you want from the Atlanta side?
I want Bijan. I think he's disrespected too. I think the matchup's tough on paper. Who cares?
It is tough on paper.
It is, but Bijan's better than a lot of the running backs they faced, and Bijan's volume and everything they've been using. They even figured it out at the goal line last week. What do you know? It's don't jam Tyler Algier 3 times and see if it works. Play Bijan Robinson. He gets you the first down on the first one, slams in the touchdown on the second one. He's $7,500. No one wants him. Play Kamara at $8,000.
Robinson, Jefferson, Hawkinson will leave you with $4,900 per player, which isn't terrible.
Love it. Darnold, the one I love is Darnold, Robinson, Hawkinson, Jefferson. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
All the sons. May as well get Addison in there too. Hawkinson, Jefferson, Robinson. Get Addison in there too. Game stack that thing. Can't spell Sam Darnold without son. SON's in there somewhere. You got to get
that is right. Yeah, he has all the letters of that combination.
It's a word scramble, Pat. It's a word scramble. So, yeah, I like this spot here, man. This is definitely a good one to roll with.
All right, let's go back and fill out some of these lineups now that we've talked through the games to see where we landed early in the show. So, again, there's the optimal. So, the first one I had was just Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. We could probably scrap this one and try to put that mini stack into somewhere.
I think that's the call. And a lot of people asked me, like a part of the mastermind thing, like people were saying one of their struggles was, how do you know what to go to for a secondary stack? And that's literally a prime example. It's like we don't love the whole game. We don't love the overstack. There's nothing in that one that we could get excited about, but there was a secondary stack in there that we, one, like quite a bit, and two, if you're looking for leverage, what does that leverage? If everyone's just playing Alvin Kamara and the Saints D or Alvin Kamara by himself, when you play Tracy and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you're double leveraging a very popular Alvin Kamara play this week.
So I think this mini stack actually works perfectly in the next shell that we have, which is the Brock Purdy one, because we're not playing Garendo in it.
Good call.
You get your regular cheap tight end with Tracy at 58, albeit a little bit more, and get the savings of Marquez Valdez-Scantling at 4,600. So it's Purdy, Tracy, Jennings, Keenan Allen, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, and George Kittle. So it leaves us with a running back, a flex, and a defense.
So you did. I was just making sure you committed to Kittle on that one, right?
Yeah.
You said you're good. And what am I missing? There's one piece you said that I forgot. San Francisco run back. Who's the run back?
Keenan.
That's right, Keenan Allen.
So where would you like to go with this?
Well,
let's just see what we have. I want to throw in a defense to see how much money remaining we have. Where's Jags D? Jags D at 26,
which is also pretty solid because if you other people maybe want the Giants, we can't because we can't. We just don't want it because we're going against a player at that point. So I'm fine with this. And now we have 7,100 left.
Yeah.
So Barkley.
Oh, really?
We're not playing Kamara. You may as well see what Barkley gets us.
It leaves you at 52. It'd be perfect if Bucky Irving is out, because you could just play White and Barkley. But if you play Barkley,
can you play White? I have 5,200 left.
Oh, sorry, is White 53? Yeah, never mind then.
Yeah, now is there a $2,500 D that you could go to?
You could, but I mean, we don't know if.
True.
I mean, you could just play Njoku instead.
Yeah, that's true as well. You could fit him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can just play Njoku. That's who I would play of all these guys lurking around 52 to 49. So you're dealing with names in the flex like Ray Davis, Madison, Bigsby, Cooper, Tillman. Tillman may or may not play in this game. He missed last week or Monday night with a concussion. Gainwell, Braylon Allen, who could open up if Breece Hall misses. I don't expect Breece Hall to miss. Roma Dunze is a part of this game if you just wanted to overstack it that way, but you're not playing Caleb Williams, so who cares? Kincaid, Leggett, Singletary, Elijah Moore, who I don't mind, Ingram, Wendale, Amir Abdullah, your boy Nick Westbrook Akine, my guy Sincere McCormick, or you could just play Njoku, who's
I like Njoku here.
Just look at the.
It's a different version of double tight end. He literally just caught 2 touchdowns last week. Like he can.
He's every other week guy. So he went 23.6, 17.1, 8, 19.1, 3.9, 26.2. So keep it rolling.
It's time for him to keep it rolling here. I think I will say this about this lineup is one. So just a note, because we do this and we won't do it for every lineup, but just do it for this one, is it's like 15 off the optimal, okay?
Yep.
But first of all, Keenan Allen can improve some because if, DJ Moore is out, if Swift, like all that, it could end up being more, and I think he's got more in him than that. Second of all, it has great leverage built in with what we talked about with our secondary stack on top of the Purdy versus Garindo stuff. So we're not just going away from Garindo and saying, let's try and just ignore one of the better plays on the slate. No, let's see what we do differently with it. And then it's got Jacksonville D against the Will Levis, Ridley, Pollard stuff. So you got some leverage there. And then you fit in Barkley, who, most people looking to fit him are going to be on these common chalk, more heavily owned stacks. So realistically, we're probably only 10 to 12 points off with some of the upgrades we could see happen to this lineup. And then we have a ton of leverage built in, which makes up for anything we're missing on the overall projection. So I like this build.
The only other thing you could probably do here is you could go off of Barkley and go down to A-Chain or...
Yeah, what does that do if we move out Njoku?
It gets you up to like Debo, which we're not playing in this lineup anyway. It's not quite enough for Marvin Harrison. It might get you to Brian Thomas.
6K.
I think I like this.
Do you like Najee instead of the other side? It would be Najee.
No, not really.
Projection-wise, anyway.
I'd rather just play Barkley.
Yeah, it projects worse, actually, anyway.
This really feels like a game where if they think that Barkley has a chance to win MVP, they're 12.5-point favorites against the second worst run defense that just gave up 150 rushing yards to Bucky Irving, that they're going to jam Barkley as much as possible here.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to bet on that, which I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it's like this is what people ask, like the 2v2 stuff. When you look at that, like think about it. It's not like it's Barkley and last week David Moore or something where you're making a decision. It's Barkley and Njoku or Achan and who do we say? Najee Harris. Like I still want the Barkley side, and it's not like I'm going crazy here. It's to me, I like it better. It's projects better for good reason, I think, and it's just 2 better plays. We're not punting off with Njoku.
That gets us to Tua with Hill, Njoku, and Devontae Adams. $4,900. So I assume Garindo goes into this one?
Yeah, let's do that. Tua, who do we end up going? It was Njoku and Adams?
Njoku and Adams with Tyreek.
All right, I like it. This is if these guys ever show up, they show up in the same game lineup.
So 4,800 remaining now for running back, receiver, flex, and defense.
All right, let's get Garindo in there. Do you want to go back to, do you want to try and double down with our Tracy MVS and move off the Kamara stuff?
Oh, I mean, I'm good with not playing Kamara. That's fine with me. The last time I did that, I believe he scored 4 touchdowns and had 51 fantasy points. But just throwing that out there for people.
Just to see what this
Marcus Valdez-Scantling, that gives us 44, so we can use...
If you use your Jags D, it gets us 6,200.
Jags D, 62. Who's at 62 for a flex? Hubbard,
Chuba,
Metcalf.
we talked about that. Metcalf, DJ Moore,
I mean,
McBride.
I'm not opposed to playing McBride or Marvin Harrison. Like
it's a 2 tight end week, man.
I mean, you made a pretty compelling case, I think, for Marvin Harrison here. No one's going to play him.
Yeah, he fits, but do you want him or McBride as if you're picking a one-off?
I mean, I guess if I'm shooting for upside, I'd want a guy who could score a touchdown. That would be Marvin.
Trey McBride is about due as it can possibly get. I'll never use that word, but man, the only thing I would say, I guess, the way my thought process works on this is like if Marvin Harrison has the game that's pretty solid, it feels like then I would just want to try and convert this to a Kyler lineup because you have the $300 up top. You sort of, you can move one, Devontae Adams or Hill turns into JSN on the other side. You pick up a little bit of money that way. So builds are all pliable and you can move them around. But I think for this one, I would just land on Trey McBride and call it a day. It's about 3 points off the previous lineup we just built.
Or you can go with Marvin Harrison and just use Titans D instead of Jags D, if that's a route you want to go. Although I assume the Titans D is going to be the D.
Can you afford that? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And we don't have the Jags. So yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, just switch it up a little bit so we don't have the same plays in every single one. So that one projects out slightly worse than the last one?
This is about 4 points less, yeah.
So who are some other, like I'm looking at points per dollar right now, the top 5 points per dollar wide receivers this week are Jacoby, Drake London, Justin Jefferson, Ridley, and Mike Evans. And if we take a look at optimal rate, it's Brian Thomas, Shakir, because of course, Juwan Jennings, Pickens, and Puka pop up on that list. And if you're looking for cheap plays, there really are none. Coker and Boyd at 36 and 37. And then Valdez Scantling at 46. Michael Wilson at 41.
Yeah, it's
Ray,
tough scene down there.
Ray. You know what? Ray at 45 might be the look in that.
Yeah.
Just because he's fast.
And he's out there all the time.
Yeah,
he
just
plays
give
like
him
90% of the snaps, and he's out there, and he just catches it. When he catches it, it's going to be 13 yards at a time. Like, it's chunks.
Yeah, just give him a check down. Hopefully he breaks one.
That too.
And he's cheap. So, Baker with Evans and Otten and Brock Bowers.
Baker, Evans, Brock Bowers, and the double tight end with Otten. And then where do you want to go from here?
Garendo?
Yep.
I really hope one of these other running backs opens up.
So we'll put Garendo in.
And this is the one where I wanted to use Sincere McCormick if all the other running backs are out.
Do you want to see what that would get us?
I mean, it's not. I can tell you, it gets us.
Gets us a bad projection, but it gets us plays.
It gets us $800 extra from Garendo, I think. So Garendo.
Do you want to play Garendo and Sincere, or do you want to play Sincere and
No,
Jennings?
we're not going to put Sincere because I'm going to enter
Okay.
this lineup. But I'm just saying when I go back to it, if I hear that, I will go amend this lineup and just overstack this game.
Okay.
So a running back, a wide receiver, or two wide receivers in a defense. Is this a lineup like, do you have to play the big running backs? Could you get away with playing Tracy in this lineup too?
I think you can, because you're looking at it like the price-wise. If you go to Barkley, you're dead.
Yeah,
You
so-
need two wide receivers in a defense and only have 3,700 left.
If we go to Tracy, and we're not going to play MVS in this one with him, we're going to play Giants D with Tracy.
Let's do that.
So it gives us $5,800 left for two wide receivers.
I think it's like a perfect secondary stack, isn't it? Yeah, it's Ridley and Thomas.
Does that
against
work?
Each other. Yeah, and
That's-
you have a couple $100 left, I think. But
That's exactly where I wanted to look at with this.
yeah, and this is much better projection than the last two lineups we've done. So like this is a great. I mean, to me, a couple $100 left on the table. Tracy and the D is the flip to any of the New Orleans stuff. People are literally playing the Saints D, Jawan Johnson, Kamara, or combination of them. We flip it completely there. You're going with the Baker side instead of the O'Connell side. You get Evans, Otten, Bowers, and then a secondary stack in the Jacksonville, Tennessee game with Garendo, the play that everybody's playing on the slate, just doing it in a different way. That's a great lineup.
The only other way that you could probably do this is get rid of Ridley and Thomas and use like Jennings and JSN or something. I know that they don't correlate, but just if you think that those are two objectively good plays, I get that you're playing Garendo anyway, but like you said before, like those two guys can still do fantasy damage, and doesn't mean the other guys have to come with them.
Yeah, I was trying to see if there was something else, but how much is JSN? He's 63.
63, and if you drop Thomas down or Ridley down to Jennings, what's Jennings? 53.
Yeah, I was just gonna look one quick second here because we don't have. If we take those guys out, you could go back to your Tennessee defense from earlier, and if you put Valdez Scantling like you had on the original,
You get Jefferson.
you get Pickens.
Yeah, I think that's good enough.
Projects the same.
I like this better.
Yeah, they're both. I like the first version too, and just leave a couple $100. I did like that build quite a bit, just to show if we went to something else there. What's the next shell up
What's the cheapest defense I would use here?
this week?
The Browns at 24. No one's playing them, but Russ is gonna have a bad game eventually.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Vegas, to be honest.
Or Falcons at 25. Just hey, someone is playing Sam Darnold.
Definitely fine with Falcons. That's why I brought up earlier. If you don't have that if you need that $100 ever from that $2,600 spot we kept landing with Giants or Jags, I would be fine with going down to Atlanta.
So this one is wide open. This show, it's Hurts and Dallas Goedert.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. So, how do you want to handle this from like, okay, what did the optimal have, and you're kind of just filling the pieces
let's
around
build
it?
this in a fun way because I don't think this is going to be common. Obviously.
Also, what's the thing I was going to say? Did Goddard get cleared? I forgot about that.
I believe he did, didn't he? Let's see.
Let me double check.
Is not participating, so maybe he is not.
Yeah, I
playing.
forgot about this. We talked about that earlier. What I guess my point was I knew this on the first look starting the week was he left with the injury or whatever.
Let's just get rid of Goddard. Hurts
just
naked.
move him out. But yeah, I was gonna say just using like Hurts with his tight end, like Calcaterra. Not in love with that, but like just saying when you're playing these guys instead of naked, the other way to go is just fill up the tight end spot.
Let's just do it right now with just Hurts. So here's a secondary stack that I think you can get behind. It's a bit expensive, and we might have to use Tracy and.
And we're heavy on Tracy, but just so you know, our Giants calls have been good. 1 for 1 this season on Darius break the slate.
Break the Slayton. So let's go Marquez Valdez Scantling and Tyrone Tracy with James Cook and Puka.
James Cook. is 7,400, which is good. And then we put in Valdez-Scantling. Okay. Now, do you want to do like a Myers?
I was going to say Myers, Otten.
And then
No, we only have $1,500 left. That doesn't work.
we can't get that?
I was going to say Jennings, Otten, Myers, but that does not jive.
I was going to try and do Garenda.
You need a cheap tight end for this lineup. Even with Garendo, it doesn't work.
Well, we can fix it. Just wait. Otten. And Garendo's too expensive, you said?
Yeah.
1,300 though. You got to just find it. You just got to abandon the Cook Nakua, I think, and just play Cook.
Just play Cook? No,
I think
Nakua?
so. You like him better anyway, right?
Cook, DeMarcus Robinson?
No, I don't even think you secondary it. I think you go look at like, okay, Cook could just be the points you need in that 49-point total. You already like the Bills to cook, so to speak. So let's put just James Cook in there for that. That's your gold pick you talked about. So what's another receiver?
Jennings?
If you're not playing Jennings, I guess, because we put Garendo, but you can flip it.
I didn't put Garendo in there.
Okay, so leave Jennings. That's fine. And
Myers, Otten.
Yeah, I like your Jennings call, but if you go to Tennessee D, it's 6,400, or if you go to Jags D, it's 66. So who do you like at 60?
We could play Atlanta and make it 67 and play James Conner.
Do you like anybody else in there? Like, would you? Yeah.
Hey, actually, you know who we could play? Let's do this instead.
Oh, this is where you can play what I talked about earlier. You could have Myers, Bowers, and Otten, but not have Aiden O'Connell and just rack up those points.
Or you can play Otten with Bowers, get rid of Myers,
Okay.
and have 58 for Brian Thomas at wide receiver as a one-off.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Brian Thomas is 58, and that leaves us the 25.
For the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, do you like that? Or do you like with no, actually that the reason that works good is because you wouldn't put the Jags in there if you moved him down to Ridley, and you wouldn't be putting the Giants in there if you kept it with Marcus Valdes-Scantling. So that's kind of a way where I call that like a freebie. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but it makes a lot more sense to me in the build. So that's why I'm fine landing there and why I like picking defense last.
How does that lineup rate out?
It's about 7.5 off the optimal.
So it's the best of the lineups we've built projection-wise outside of the optimal so far, even if we don't like it the best.
Right. And James Cook has a fair projection. That's why. So it's just he's not getting played because the spot and the other running backs that are higher or lower.
I feel like this one builds itself.
Okay.
Mac Jones,
Oh, yeah.
Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Brian Thomas, and Parker Washington.
We put Saquon in it already?
Oh, yeah.
of
So
course.
Saquon's already in there.
And it was Thomas and Parker Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice already. I like this.
So
The
you
flip
get
of the bill.
Garendo as the flex. Throw in, I guess you can't use, throw in Atlanta D.
Isn't it just like see what Otten and Myers gives you first as like the obvious?
Yeah.
And then see where you land on D? Oh, it's a lot. Holy shit. It's actually a lot of money. So maybe not. What about a Bowers Evans?
Does that work?
I'm just thinking of flipping it from where most would land. It might be too much.
Yeah, I don't have enough money for that.
No, definitely not. It's funny. You have too much the other way and too much not. So what about one-offing it then? Would you pick Bowers and just a random receiver? Or would you pick Otten and a random receiver?
If we do Otten and a random receiver, we can get up to, we almost got to Puka. Actually, you can get to Otten and Evans if you wanted them. You can get to Cooper Kupp, who we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah, it'd be him with the $2,600 D, right?
Yeah. Or you just play Browns D at 24. Is there a pay up defense you like?
Philly.
So Philly with Pollard.
Tampa Bay is going to be a good leverage option this week because everyone's playing Bowers for sure. Let alone just starting with Bowers is the easy one, and then Myers, some Aiden O'Connell, like all these things. And if the running backs get ruled out, like Tampa Bay would have to be a good pay up option.
Oh, I didn't want to throw just overstack Jacksonville and Tennessee.
What do you got?
So I Mac Jones, Pollard, Barkley, Thomas, Parker, Washington, Ridley,
Yes,
Otten and Garendo with Eagles D.
and $200 left.
Yeah. So yeah, Barkley and the Eagles
Yeah.
together.
So this projects like very similar to the last one, and it's also a build you can just flip it. You want to? Oh, actually, you know what's funny is if you want this to project the best of what we've done so
Just
far,
flip Jones to Levis.
Jones to Levis. and you're playing the same overstack. But yeah, that's only like 5 points off your original.
Okay.
Because everything's payout. Like you have all it's all good plays except maybe Parker Washington, but he's still not that bad, and he also fits the game stack, so it makes perfect sense.
And you get the savings on Mac Jones ownership-wise versus Levis, and
Yeah,
basically the same guy.
definitely.
Kyler Murray, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride.
I don't know what it is about this one, but I got a feeling I like this one.
Garendo and Tracy is the running backs.
Yeah, let's try it. Garendo and Tracy.
Tracy, Garendo. Where the hell did Garendo go?
Do you have any thoughts of, let me put in McBride quick, but do you have any, like if we aren't playing someone like Ridley, I guess, I guess you could probably just fit Myers and Otten, but yeah.
You have way more money than to fit
True.
Myers and Otten.
I'm thinking like instead of, like I don't know if we need Tracy, but I kind of like him because he's the flip to the Kamara stuff. But what about like Pollard when you're not playing Ridley? Like what does that look like?
All right, well, let's throw Pollard into this.
Like if you put Pollard and Brian Thomas, for example, who we saw, who's also like the leverage to.
Yeah, I like that. Pollard, Brian Thomas. It gives you 4,000. So let's play Giants D. Just throw them in there at 26, see what happens. Gives you 5,400.
Oh, we're like $400 away. Dang. Was there another receiver? No.
Play Browns D. You got 5,600 for a flex. That gets you Myers if you want him. We don't have any Raiders.
Yeah, we're close to that. What was that? So if I go Pollard in there.
Pollard, Brian Thomas, Browns D with Jacoby Myers.
Browns D is 2,400.
Yeah. You could also have ETN, Keenan Allen, Jalen Warren, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Waddle.
No,
I'm assuming that's
like
not
that.
Roddy White. I'm assuming that's
So that one projects
Rashad White.
good that you just had. What happens if we pull Brian Thomas for Parker Washington
Then we can pay a lot for a running back.
instead of...
Now, for as right as we were about Darius Slayton that time, the last time we played Parker Washington, he had 0 points.
It didn't go great.
You get to 7,000 as a flex.
So Jackson Smith and Jigba, and now I got 7K in the flex.
So Brees Hall, Cooper Kupp.
Isn't there somebody, though, that we like at 6,800?
Pickens is there. Connor is there, but we're already not playing Connor in this lineup because it's a Kyler Murray lineup.
So what's the $2,600 D here? It's not Jacksonville in this case. It would be the Giants?
It would be the Giants, but like, what are we
Or Atlanta.
what are we saving for? To play George Pickens?
Yeah, I like Pickens this week, so I was trying to look at getting him in there. That gives us 26, and we can play your Giants.
Sure.
Do you like Giants or Atlanta in this spot?
I like the Giants D better.
And going against Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I like that lineup.
Okay.
That's I'm fine with like I would rather the Thomas. I like Thomas, but funny enough, this one actually projects the exact same, and I've got a couple more leverage points built into it, like a little bit of built-in upside that way. So I kind of like this one.
Okay. So we'll throw that one in. Russell Wilson, George Pickens, David Njoku. I feel like we're at the point now where we've built the same lineup a bunch of times. Let's pivot off of this. Blow it up a little bit.
So just got 3 guys in this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can blow up certain parts, but like I said, I really just
Let's play A-Chain in this one. We haven't played him yet.
okay.
So is there a Jet, A-Chain, and Adams?
I don't think you
Or just A-Chain?
Just leave it.
Okay.
Do you want to play Jennings then if you're not playing Grindo?
Sure. Let's do that.
I know we've played him some, but I think it's something to look at here. And maybe Debo ends up being a great play this week because I thought people were getting there. But
and he's hard to fit in. And Brian Thomas is right there. Ridley is right there. That's going to get people off of him. Metcalf and JSN are a little bit more. Even Marvin Harrison's right around the same price.
yeah, I think that's interesting.
You can play almost like the optimal balance build with this one. So throw in Giants D.
Okay.
You have to play double tight end is the problem.
What are you putting in?
You put in Otten.
Okay.
So you put in Otten with Myers.
Yeah, it's back to Chuba.
And then you're at 62. Nah, I don't like that.
Don't love that. What happens if you just play Pollard and then leave 5,400 in wide receiver? You can get like. Wasn't there a D at 2,400 that you liked?
I don't mind the Browns D.
Oh yeah. Let's do that. Oh, it's the opposite. It's going against.
It's going against
the
our
one
stack.
spot you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And even that, yeah. Dang, that's close.
Let's throw in 1 second. Let's throw in Brian Thomas. Gives us 1,800 left.
Oh, God.
Is this the spot where we play Juwan Johnson?
Are you taking Njoku out or Otten
Otten.
and going Jawan?
Yeah, and that gets us to 2,800 at defense. So you can play whoever you want.
Who was our running back that was with HN?
Pollard.
You're good with that? Okay.
You play
yeah.
Titans D along with him if you want to. I guess we had Brian Thomas going, so you can
Do
play.
you have 3,200 left?
I have 2,800 left.
Who do you have with Jennings and Thomas? Pickens.
Oh, I took Jennings out. Sorry.
Okay.
I kept Myers in by accident. So yeah, let's go Jennings. Yeah, I have 3,200 left.
Which is Miami defense to go with HN.
Miami D. There we go. Playing against the Jets.
Man, this projects pretty well, actually, surprisingly.
Don't like it.
I don't hate it, though. It's Wilson, Pickens, Njoku. You get your little Saints spot in there with Juwan. You get your San Francisco spot in there with Jennings. And then you get Pollard for Ridley with Thomas because it's a flip there. And then you get HN with the D. That's kind of nice.
We could do this with Otten. No, it wouldn't be Otten Bowers. I guess it doesn't work. I was going to say, if we dropped HN down to Bijan.
No, I like this build.
Okay.
If you don't love Aaron Rodgers right now or anything he's doing, then why not play the Miami D at home? 5.5 point favorites. No one on HN. The HN flip is down to Jawan. 8K Kamara instead. You've got Jawan down there. 2 tight end in a different way than everyone. You just don't have Vegas and Tampa Bay, but that's whatever. You can't have everything.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you can't have it all.
Yep.
So Tracy, Marquez, Valdez, Scantling. I'm just going to see if I can make this Bills one work with Kyron and Puka.
Are you on to Josh Allen right now?
Yeah.
With who? Nobody?
Allen with Kincaid.
Okay. I
And
like it.
Kincaid has, limited at practice.
Hey, you got upgraded this morning, right before I got here.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're good.
He got to full or he got to limited?
I don't know, but he looks a lot more likely to play. Let's just say that. Friday, people know what it is. It's Friday. We're gonna, if things change, fine, but you can always swap
44, 53 for a wide receiver. Does that actually fit Jennings?
it. Jennings 52, yep.
Yeah, so this is the way it has to go. It's Josh Allen with Kyron Williams and Garendo.
Okay.
Puka, MVS, and Jennings.
Puka, MBS.
And Jennings.
Oh, okay. Because you're going Allen to 1 and then 2 Rams,
Two
on the other
Rams.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Kincaid, Otten, Browns D.
What did I do wrong? Did you put Tracy in here or no?
Nope.
Grindo?
Yep.
That's all, is it? So double. So this is a great example, though, what I talked about earlier, too, the Garendo and Jennings one, where a lot are going to make that decision versus the answer could just be both. And they don't have to have Purdy with them at all. And this could have been Atlanta D as well.
It could be, yes.
Which do you like better?
Probably Browns D. They'll give up their big plays. They'll keep teams passing on them.
Yeah, they project better, too. But the one thing is when you're not playing the Minnesota stuff, if people are going to play Darnold and them. But yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's good. Not as good as the other ones projection-wise of note.
No, of course. But it gets you the 2% Josh Allen.
Are we, how many shells do we have left?
We have one.
It's got to be the good one.
The Sam Darnold.
Yeah, let's do this.
Darnold, Bijan, Jefferson, Hawkinson.
Can I just try this one?
Can you build some Hawkinson coin?
Oh,
Get ripped
gosh,
off?
did you see that? That's going to be bad. At least
How much money did you lose on Hawk Tua coin?
none. And that's the
What?
one thing. Like
I lost like $500,000.
What are you allowed? I don't know what you're allowed to say and not to say, but one thing I'll say for sure: people that buy these things, like you're lost. I have no idea how they expect it to be like anything different. I know it's on her and her team or whatever, but why are you even buying these things? Like Hawk coin didn't work out for you.
I don't.
Wow.
I personally don't understand it. I assume it's people that are mad or couldn't afford Bitcoin or like the expensive ones. So now they're basically playing penny stocks with this, but they're putting way too much money into it.
Like you're wondering what happened. Like, well, what?
If you're wondering what happened, you shouldn't like be wondering too much.
What?
You bought something called Hawk Coin
Like,
and
what?
thought it was going to be worth billions.
I just don't get it, man. Like, what did you think?
Hey, it's no different than people playing like scratch off lottery tickets. It's all like the same concept. People are just looking to get rich immediately, and they somehow have deluded themselves into thinking that this is how you do it because like one person did it.
Yeah, that's my thoughts at least. I got the nuts here as we were talking.
All right, hit me.
It is Sam Darnold, Jefferson, Hawkinson. The run back is Bijan. You get the secondary stack of Pollard and Parker Washington, which gets you the secondary stack of Jacoby Myers and Cade Otton, double tight end. And it lands you on the Pittsburgh defense against Jameis Winston, which nobody's on, and that's going to be money. That's the nuts. I like all those plays.
I mean, the problem with this being the nuts is that Sam Darnold's in it.
Correct.
So that can go up in flames pretty quickly.
Can't spell Sam Darnold is the nuts without the nuts. So there you go. Let's try that one out for the day. But I think this lineup is somewhat intriguing, and you still have like Pittsburgh. We'll see what the Darnold ownership actually comes in at. The Parker Washington, like there's enough leverage in here, and we covered some of the secondary stacks that we liked, or at least that I liked. So feel good about this one.
All right, so just kind of looking at them, we have the Darnold, the Allen. So you like the Darnold one. You said you liked the Russell Wilson one. Did the Kyler Murray one turn out as well as you thought?
Do you have it up? It ended with Cleveland D, right? With the Pollard, Garindo, McMyers.
No, it ended with Giants D.
Kyler with the Giants. Oh, Pollard, Garindo, Parker, Washington. Yeah, that was nice too. This one's a little bit better on projection that I just built with Darnold, but I like that. The one I liked, I'll tell you for sure.
It was the Jalen Hurts one?
Man, where did I
Hurts,
put it?
Cook, Tracy, Thomas,
No.
Jennings, MVS, Otten, Bowers, and Falcons D?
I felt like that was a little bit following what we just been doing, so we just rolled with it.
Yeah.
The one I did like is what you called out, was the Wilson one. It turned out better than expected because you get Pickens and Njoku, guys that I liked. It makes sense. I know it's going back to the well with Russ, but I don't think anyone is going back to the well with Russ. We didn't have to punt for Parker Washington. We got Pollard with Brian Thomas, which is kind of like a nice flip because Thomas is $100 more than Ridley. I know that Pollard's getting ownership too. I'm just saying I at least like that side of it. I think it could be solid. And then you got Jennings instead of Garindo, Jawan Johnson as opposed to another Saint like Kamara, and then you got A-Chan with the Miami D combo. Good with that.
All right.
So
I think that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Week 14.
it's crazy, man.
You have to win your spot in the...
Last chance. I'm going to Nashville either way, but I would much rather be there with a golden ticket in hand to play for the top prize. If not, have to do something when I come back because I got 5 tickets to the Mega Ultimate or whatever it's called at the end of the month, the 33 with $2.5 million up top and like 3,000 entries. I stopped playing the satellites because I got 5 tickets. I was like, it's plenty. It's
You
more.
got enough.
I would have loved to have 3 when I started getting the tickets, and I got them for very cheap at the beginning because it sort of all happened so quickly that I just stopped, and I've been happy, but I've just been wasting money on FFWC, but I budget for that at the start of the year, so I'm not too concerned.
So you're not here next week or 2 weeks?
Next week.
Next week.
Yeah,
you're not
I
here.
leave on Thursday to head out there.
All right. Well, good luck in Nashville.
If I'm not in it, I'm just going to play some high-end tournament to say what if and do it. But it's always fun being around other people that you know and play against year round. And sort of everybody goes to that event, and tons of other players that aren't in the live final will still be there too. I've been to plenty of them. We all still go to hang out and have a good time.
I'm never invited.
You've been invited. You always decline the invites.
I'm not invited.
To this one? No, my wife's coming with me for this, but usually
Yes, I do normally decline invites.
you decline the invites, and that's why. But you're
I
good
like
to
being
roll.
here in my studio.
I know you do. It's
No one needs to see me in person.
or your hotel mate studio. And he's, I'm not doing a show this weekend. Oh, yes, you are. I'll just wait and see you in your darkness in your room. Well, who knows what's going on? You got the blanket fort over top of you and building your own mini studio at the Holiday Inn or whatever it is.
It happens. Sometimes you have to improvise on the fly.
That's you, man. We appreciate it.
Although when I ran into Rick at President's Cup, at the Wyndham, he had like this whole like setup that he can bring with him. It's pretty slick.
Yeah, Rick's the same as you guys both are the same. Just working, not stopping, and keeping it rolling.
Yeah, well, the one and done. It's filling up. It's already like 13% full.
Yeah, I tell you, people get in that early, man.
They should get in it early. FantasyGolfChampionships.com to get in that. $250 per entry, 5 max, $100,000 to first place, $1 million guaranteed. Some people will scoff at only 10% of the prize pool being to first place, but when you go look at the payouts, you're going to be glad it is the way it is.
And it's golf, man. Stuff happens.
You don't want to play 40 weeks of a season, come in second, and
get nothing pretty much.
Yeah, I think you'd rather have like 75K rather than 10K just because you missed out on the 100K, which could have been 150. Like, you just don't want. I don't personally like those gaps, but.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but if it is going to be there, then I get it. Like, people want to play for a higher top. It's usually just people that are in for a lot, and the downswings get big, so it's you kind of got to get those scores to get out of the downswings. In one and done, you're playing for more entertainment. So why wouldn't you want it where if you come in fifth, you still get a really nice payout? Like close call, but still awesome money for your return for your time.
Yeah, basically everyone inside the top 10 I think everyone inside the top 10 is 5 figures.
Very nice.
I think everyone inside the top 100 is, I don't think it's 4 figures at least. I think it's top 50 is 4
I
figures.
like that. Anyway, it's like World Series of Poker, the main event. They made it so like you get $1 million for making the final.
Making the
Like,
final
you make the final
table.
table, like you should get $1 million. That's pretty insane feat to get to, and then up to the biggest prize at the top. It's the same kind of thing here. It's the 100K or whatever, but it's 10,000 still for quote unquote final table of the one and done. So.
I will have the newsletter coming out on Saturday evening, and I will be back on Saturday morning with a full update. You know what? I might not do the newsletter. Man, I guess I'll have to do the newsletter. I have a birthday party to go to this week.
Just same shit we just talked about. He's doing a newsletter, folks. It'll be
Yeah,
out. Just check your inbox.
now I'm just running in my mind when I'm actually going to write it. Maybe I'll write it today and then update it at the hotel before I go out and then send it out.
Not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, but you guys will check your inbox and find
Yeah,
it.
well, listen, if you get it at like 1 a.m. and it's like full of spelling mistakes, I was wasted when I wrote it.
Put dfsmastermind.com at the very top. Let them know it's the final chance for the pre-launch. Ends tomorrow. So 2-week pre-launch. And just the
Well, if
founders
it ends
pricing
tomorrow,
and-
it's not going to be good for people.
Well, it's going to go
getting an email.
till midnight. They can get it that night and get the scrambled name at the top. But if you just want to check it out, the big thing I wanted to say on this is just if you get a monthly plan to just check out what it is, you get all the content for the month. You get the 3.5-hour course that everybody helped me create. Thanks again to all the people that sent in the questions. But you also get in the draw for the $3,333 ticket giveaway.
Can I win that?
You can.
Yes.
Hop in. Just get
Can
involved.
Can you rig it so I win?
I cannot do that. No.
That's too bad.
No, you can get extra ballots on the inside though too. But I appreciate everybody for the support on that, and always help you help me out and getting things rolling. And then if you need the tools, content, projections, ownership, go over to shipitnation.com and you can get in on the rest of season NFL packages there.
I like it. I heard the college package was like printed.
Crushing. Last weekend, somebody won the main for $50K, and then our other guy, shout out to LSU Nick, he got the job done. He had a stat correction the week before. Hit him down from $5K to $2,500, bounced back the next week and ships the whole thing for $20K. So that's what it's all about, man. Just got to keep grinding.
All right. Follow Tyler on Twitter at Toteg and Tambo, me at the PME. Sub to the free newsletter, which will be sent out on Saturday evening down in the description. I'll be back on Saturday morning to update all the injuries, give my underdog picks, and go through the updated DraftKings ownership as well. All right. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!